Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of my Oxygen Not Included playthrough. Today's episode I want to finish taming the volcano here and then probably move on to the natural gas geyser here. Since we are starting to get into a lot of heat-based power with our steam turbines, I want to make some kind of centralized power out here that also includes running some kind of power spine from top to bottom. One thing I noticed right on logging in is they've actually updated some of the UI here. And as a bonus, they even let you change out the blueprints for some of your machines, which is something I was asking for like only a couple of weeks ago, so I'm pretty impressed. The ability to change material seems really convenient. Maybe not so much if I'd have to swap out like all of these tiles for a different material, because I think you'd have to go in and swap out each one. But for something minor like making an aqua tuner out of the wrong material, that's pretty helpful. Our pump down here is actually sucking out a lot of the oxygen out of our base, so we're going to have to stop it for now. Our water geyser seems to have turned off too, so we're not getting any oxygen from that. So I'm going to crank these back up. Well, really we don't need them right now since the base is so filled with oxygen, but we're not going to be producing any for a little bit. I think there might be enough oxygen left into the base to where it won't be an issue. It might be a problem for these Atmos suits actually, I didn't even think about that. I'm going to make use of a water sieve to try to get some of this polluted water to turn into air. Just so we have something. I actually want to get this done before the volcano, because if we don't have oxygen in the Atmos suits, they can't even work on it. I think what I want to do too is come down here and start analyzing this. I'm a little worried about the gas getting out of here for now, but the oxygen out here is so much stronger it actually might push it back in, so I think it'll be fine. I realized what might be better than that water sieve down there is setting a water sieve up here with this water instead, so we can actually take advantage, or do what I said I wanted to do earlier. That is, keep feeding the water in until it gets too hot, and then you can send it out. I think now, though, my big concern with this, by trying to connect some pipes out to over here, I am going to have to connect this part of the base, meaning dupes can leave, meaning I'm actually going to have to block all this in. We'll give it a second until they get a little closer. Alright, so the two most important parts right now are this liquid shutoff and the pipe thermosensor. Since this can overheat, we're going to use some of our gold we've been holding on to. This will go in, and for now, we're going to have this bridge over. If the pipe shutoff isn't on, it'll still go around, and we'll keep going back into our... That way now we have overflow, and it'll keep going in and around until it gets hot enough, which then it'll start going through the shutoff. I think I want to get rid of this tank here. We only really need one buffer tank for this, and it'll make the pipes look a little nicer. Then what we'll do, disconnect this, the way the water has to go this way, into this tank right here. And eventually this tank will empty out as well. Once it does, then we'll get rid of it. Now we're going to make use of our pipe thermosensor, and I think we'll probably treat it like it's another water geyser, where we don't want it hotter than 90 degrees, or once it gets hotter than 90 degrees, then we'll send it out. Depending on how hot it'll come through, because I think 115 or 125 is polluted oxygen's max temperature it can take before it converts. But we also have to be mindful of the spawn we're going to feed it into, because it's already having issues getting that 90-degree water down. If it comes in any hotter, it might not be able to cool it down enough at all. Yeah, this is all, since this water is going to be really hot, this is all going to have to be insulated liquid pipe, at least while we're inside the base. The issue we're going to have is directions. So I believe if we were to come in on this side, both of our water inputs would start fighting each other, and then I don't know exactly where that middle point would be. So instead, we're going to have it come even further down. You know what? This would be a lot easier. I'm just going to bring this pipe down instead. So they can just meet up here instead, and they don't have to backtrack or anything. So I have realized now I didn't even put in a water sieve. I think I want to do it around here to try to plug it into this. I also think it's time to finally seal this in. I'm going to have to take all this out. We're not really worrying too much about the gas outside of our base now, so we'll just leave it as is. This pump just came online, so hopefully we'll start getting some water back in here. Alright, yeah, some of these seats are starting to run out. We should be getting more soon enough. I think what I want to do too is, since this is going to get overpressurized, I'm going to put in a gas bridge just for direction, and then have this come down. I guess that won't really be an issue, but I don't want the gas coming up into and getting stuck here. We're still not even taking advantage of this third vent right here. But I know we still have plenty spare. In fact, we're actually just kind of wasting it right now. I think what I want to do, instead, I'm going to put a couple of these in so we can get some oxygen spread out. This won't change many things right now, but it'll at least give this oxygen something else to do. And have it come up like that. We'll do one more up here. But I think I need to stop spewing this out for sure. Oh. Wait, what? Oh, yeah, now they're starting to get out. Okay. First things first, this needs to get done immediately. We're all going to start not liking being out there. So with this, I will have to make the outside of the base accessible. I think we're just going to have it tunnel in from over here. I do want to keep sending someone down, too. We need to finish exploring as much of the map as possible. I want to figure out what kind of geysers we have. I think right here is better. We'll come straight down. Nicola's already almost finished this, and I didn't even see him. Yeah, as we can see, all this oxygen is just pushing further down into here. I think it's a good idea to come up here, too, so we can expose this part of the map. I think right here in the middle is the main Gravitas building. I don't know where else it would be. I think what I want to do is probably put in some more docks. And then we can hook up the second line to it. Since we are starting to get more dupes, we're going to have a lot more dupes working outside. I forgot we set that to auto wrangle surplus, and now they're all just kind of stuck here. I've turned it off now, so it should get back to how it was before. We have another natural gas geyser. I've only ever seen colonies with one. I'm pretty pleasantly surprised. I did just realize this doesn't have any power anyways, so we won't be able to use this. So we get power from there. We won't get power from there until we dig this up and analyze it, and we won't dig it up and analyze it till it's dormant. It's going to be quite a while till we actually get use out of this water sieve. With that in mind, I'm going to hook up a manual generator and a battery. It shouldn't really need that much water. I mean, as we can see down here, it's really not taking up water that fast. I feel like there should be more of these neural vacilators. I think we've only found 3. That's why I want to keep looking around to just get all of those used up. This Amari here is perfect. The only issue is nyctophobic. That's definitely something we can do. He's got his husbandry, agriculture, and excavation. He's also even immune to food poisoning. I think we're just going to give him the title of farmer and send him on his way. Now, with that in mind, we no longer have a bed for this dupe. Really, I kind of want to get rid of these liquid reservoirs and put in another set of beds here. Obviously, it's a little hard with all this liquid here. And then, if we were to break it anyways, we'd get stuck with all this polluted water, which we can't even emit because there's so much oxygen in our base. What I almost want to do is take the output of all of these and feed it into here. That way we can just feed it into our thimble reeds. I'd have to connect it probably here. It wouldn't look great, but it should work. Now, with that in mind, we do need to cut this off, which now we can do since we have this other circuit. And once we get this up too, we can immediately take this one off, which might be better. Because once we can start draining this, then we can actually make use of our metal refinery. I do kind of wish I knew how to pull from priority, because ideally I want them to be heating up this water and then sending out and then using the next batch. So I looked into it, and I think this is something we can accomplish using some more fun bridge mechanics. With the output, the what would be considered main pipe is prioritized over the bridge. So, for our purposes, if I put this on a bridge, just like this, I think, then this line should be prioritized over this line. I don't want to get rid of these just yet, since that'll spill out a bunch of water. I want to try to let the system reach some kind of equilibrium before I do that. I think I just exposed another one. And another water! Holy moly! We're rolling at everything we could want. The cool salt slush geyser is particularly useful because that gives us then a renewable source of salt. And salt can, I think, then be crushed into sand and table salt, mainly the sand. So we've got a total of 6 different water producers, the first one being our cool slush geyser right here, the second one being the water geyser we just made use of. We've got not 1, but 2 cool steam vents, the cool salt slush geyser we just uncovered, and then a polluted water vent right here. So we're really rolling in water now, or I guess swimming, and little by little, the reed fiber here is eating all the polluted water. It'll take a second, but at least we're going to get like a pretty healthy supply of reed fiber. Now I think just to start, we're going to end up mirroring this on this row too, but right now we only really have enough space for 1 room. Because our Amari requires to sleep in the light, we're going to have to give his bedroom some kind of light source. Now that will be an issue if other dupes do try to sleep during that, but that can just be a scheduling fix. You know, I do remember saying way early on, eventually we'd swap these out for doors once we got enough metal, and I never ended up doing that, so we're going to do that now. I can't place them on top of, so we'll have to get rid of them first. Starting to get a lot of dupes on this first schedule too. I think I'm actually going to leave it how it was. We'll put Charles back down here. Amari will go on this one, and they will get Steve instead. There we go, that's a lot more evened out. Now these ones can stay closed, they're still letting air through. I'm really considering setting up some kind of door that doesn't let these slower dupes leave, because this is really rough. In fact, I think I should do more than consider and actually set one up. Sadly, there's no automation to check the athletics level of every dupe. Basically anyone without this exosuit training we're not going to let leave the base. Bonnie's almost up to her mechatronics, so we'll get her right up there. Nispet we can actually take all the way up, so she's not allowed to leave the base. We'll give this RE plumbing. We'll also give him hard digging, just so he can get through some of the harder stuff. Charles, we need to get him up to exosuit training. Otto will give the improved carrying. Amari will hold on to for now, since he only really has the one. And we'll give this Lyra her improved farming too. The rest of these I think we'll just leave as is for now. Yeah, as for the people we're not going to let leave, that's going to be Bonnie, Steve, and Amari. Now, the insulated gas pipes really don't matter that much here. We're going to actually get rid of these and just replace these all with regular. As far as I know, pumping oxygen into these will just emit the heat with the surrounding environment. Actually, it does seem like it's a little hotter over here. Now that the system power and is able to process the polluted water, we're going to turn off the other pipe down there. Got the analysis on this natural gas geyser here too. So I think how I'm going to handle these is I'm going to make a local storage, just box them in with a decent sized box, maybe not too big. And then we'll put a gas pump in, and that's really all we need to tame these natural gas geysers. The gas that's coming out is very hot, but it will be, when we pump it into the natural gas generator, it'll just be destroyed and that heat will be lost. Research-wise, we're going to get the advanced caffeination, which we do actually need for our rockets, weirdly enough. I am actually going to make use of this changed material. I'm going to change all of these to granite if possible. Kind of get the hang of it. It's really not too bad. It's better to do this than have to destroy them and then replace them again. Alright, now that we do have our door in place, we're going to put Steve, Amari, and Bonnie, and they just can't go to the left. If they're, for some reason, already outside the base, we need them to come back in, and this should actually just stop him immediately. Nope. Nope. I do want to actually just let this go, just so we can start getting the iron. The issue being is we'll need this to be a steam room, otherwise this room will never actually cool down. And to make it a steam room, we need to vacuum it out, but then later we'll have to get back in to actually analyze this thing. So in order, what we want to happen is first seal off this room, at least from this side, put the water in and completely seal it off, take out the gas, and then start adding heat to the environment. Mostly going to be through this volcano here. Then from there, the water will turn into steam, and then it can be used. But then if we crack it open again, all that steam will get out and all this junk will get in. And we'll have to vacuum it out again, fill it up, and then the whole process over. It might be better than just waiting, but I feel like we've waited so long, I don't know how many more cycles this has until it goes dormant. Also, we're not even done with the heatsink anyways. Oh, I haven't even set this yet. That's not good. Alright, we'll say if it's above... We'll do 80. I'm a little worried. I don't know how... I know the water down there is going to be coming out at 95, but this might make such a huge jump from, like, let's say 80 to 120. And I'm trying to be mindful of that. Of course, that is extreme cases, but it still could happen. Research-wise, we're going to get the jetpacks. I don't think we're going to make use of this. From what I've heard, these seem to produce a lot of lag. I don't think we're going to mess with the jet suits at all. I think it's also time I properly set up the shipping in this room. I don't really have the excuse of not having the materials anymore. And we'll hook this up just the same. I think the issue we're running into now is our food starting to go bad. The only solution I can think of is to either put more storage, but I really don't want to do that, Or what we can do is set up a deep freeze of some kind, which just involves making a pretty small chamber, filling it with chlorine gas, getting that to about negative 18 degrees Celsius. So another thing new in this update that I just realized is this critter drop-off no longer works, actually. And it's been replaced by the critter drop-off and the critter pickup. With that in mind, I don't know if the critter drop-off is going to keep working. I do want to keep some around since now you can't make any more. So I would want to leave some in my base. I don't think I'm going to make use of them until I start noticing issues with our ranches. For now we're going to leave them, but eventually we might have to swap them out. I do want to start unearthing some of these other geysers and volcanoes and whatnot, just so we can get a look at them. So this is kind of where we're at for right now. I'm trying to decide where I want this power spine to go. If we're going to have our base right here, we can't have it go through our base, so I think I'm going to pick a side to put it on. It might be better to put it more on the right, since that's where we have two of our natural gas geysers. And I'm sure we're going to use other forms of power, but we're definitely going to be using these geysers. I think location-wise, I'm going to put it somewhere around here, so I think we're just going to end up digging out this whole biome. Now, because we are just going to, since we are pretty haphazardly cracking into this, all this gas is going to get everywhere, but I'm not too worried about that. We've also got some blueprints. That one's actually pretty neat looking. No, I think this is better to do this now rather than later. We're just going to seal this in. I've changed my mind. I don't want to make this tank, or I don't want to make the place I'm storing this in a big vessel. There's not much of a need to, especially since they actually have updated the gas reservoir to now it holds the 1,000 kilograms instead of, I think it was like 10 before, or it was 100. It wasn't very much. And then just for now, we'll have some power get out of there. We need to box this one in too, so we'll probably do just the exact same thing. Since we are making use of so much lead, I do want to start digging up some more. Since this is kind of depreciated, I'm not too worried now about really just cleaving out this whole area. I want to keep avoiding this for as long as I can. I don't think it'll be an issue now since my dupes are in Atmos suits, but I'm paranoid. Alright, now that we've got everything on that one, we can just seal this in. We do have some oxygen in there, but we can either vent it out or just put up a temporary filter to filter out that oxygen. Also now, since we have such an abundance of plastic, I'm going to swap out the ladders in our base for plastic ones, just so they can move around a little faster. I actually want to get all this out of here first, because you probably won't be getting back in here anytime soon. I also did just realize we probably want to set up an Atmos sensor so we're still not wasting power. I think today I just want to talk about games itself. First off, I'd just like to ask what games you all are playing. If Oxygen Not Included is your first game, I feel very sorry for you. That may be the reason why you're here. I don't really know. As far as games go, I think this one's a relatively complicated one. As for me, obviously I play Oxygen Not Included. I play all sorts of games, really. The genre doesn't matter too much to me. If I had to pick a genre, I love horror games. I actually haven't played too many horror games. The most recent one I think you could say I've played is the Kinetopet game. If any of you have heard of that, it's a pretty new one, relatively new. I think it came out in January this year. Basically, it's like Bonzi Buddy the horror game, if that means anything to you. Oh. Seems we had a pretty big accident here. I think our pipe's busted. Yeah, that's why we gotta put the thermosensor even further down. Let's do like a 60. I think we're having issues with the overflow. Even if this is detecting the right temperature, it can't actually... If this pipe ends up being full, they can't actually send it. I think I'm gonna hook up some buffer tanks. Well, that aside, recently I've been playing a bit of Mario Kart 8 again. I've been having fun with that. I'm also a fan of Town of Salem 2. I don't hop on that one as much, but maybe once every couple of days for a game or so. If any of you are still experienced enough to know the pain, I've also been playing Overwatch 2. I think if you don't have friends to play it with, it can be a pretty miserable game. But the crossplay is pretty nice. I think that's a feature that honestly a lot of us take for granted now, is games having crossplay. No, I do most of my gaming through Steam. I think the second thing that I use is my Switch. I do have some other consoles too. I think I'm a big Nintendo fanboy. Got a Wii, got a DS, a 3DS. I'm also a pretty big Bloons fan. I haven't been playing it that much because I kind of been wearing myself out, but of all my games on Steam, it has my third most hours. The most being Terraria, but I haven't played that game in like actually years, basically since 1.4. The update scared me and I haven't come back. Maybe I should. I've had a lot of fun doing challenge builds. The one I remember the most is doing a yo-yo only build in expert mode, and that was a nightmare. Like I said, there's a ton of things I have played. I'm just trying to name the ones I've played recently. I've been giving Rust a try, but if we're going to talk about games that have a huge learning curve, Rust is also very much up there. It's a different kind of learning curve, too. The people who make videos over it make the game seem so fun to play, but I think those are the people who do that for a living. They have thousands and thousands of hours and of... Now, while I am going to make a power spine, I don't think I'm going to have a centralized power room just yet. I know there exist things like saunas and the dirty bricks, but I think what I want to do, just to start, is literally just set up a room for processing natural gas and nothing else. Now, one good thing that's going to happen from us getting into this natural gas is we should be able to then start ranching some slicksters. I've tried to ranch them before and I've never really been successful because I didn't have either enough carbon dioxide or enough hot carbon dioxide to actually keep them producing. But ranching slicksters is something that's definitely on my agenda right now. Now that the automation's in, we can seal these up, and we shouldn't really ever have to open these again. You know, I'm not a fan of the polluted water being here, but I guess it's not really an issue. Even though polluted water can go up to about 120, water only goes up to 100. And so when it comes through the sieve, it will just get turned into steam and then off gas, which is probably what a lot of this water just came from. I think what I'm actually going to do is repurpose this pipe. We're starting to run out of clean water in here. I'm going to take this water and just send it into our base. It's about a temperature we want, maybe a little warmer than we'd like, but not too bad. What we can do is take this. We'll just go over. We'll go up. Now from right here, we can't reach it. We'll have to put in a ladder so they actually can reach it. Well, I didn't even notice there was a airflow tile there. We're going to have to get rid of that. Otherwise, we're just going to lose all of our gas. Or let some of that noxious gas in. Actually, I think something I want to do is take advantage of the zoom out feature and just do a map wide sweep on a lower priority. That way, if they really have nothing else to do, they can just be bringing in stuff from the outside. I mainly want to leave it on the ground just for auto sweepers. You know what? I think I've changed my mind. We're not going to do that. I will do it, however. I just did something very stupid. I canceled everything on the map. I canceled all of my build errands. Luckily, I don't think there's really much queued up right now. Alright, with that in mind, I'm just going to do a quick look around to see if I messed up anything major. I don't think I did. We did now just get to this fossil here too, so I want to start excavating to see if I can figure out what's going on with it. So the way the natural gas generators work is they take in natural gas, and then they'll output to a pipe carbon dioxide, and they'll also directly output into the world polluted water. With that in mind, we really only have a couple options. We could either, one, put these in some kind of steam room to where they'd immediately turn into steam, which might be what we do. Could also just ignore it and let the polluted water build up, and eventually it would actually, well, depending on how hot that is, we could either funnel that into the SPAWM, directly into the base, once it's purified. I think I like the idea of the steam room, especially since we're going to keep this pretty small. I do want to make use of this power control station too, which will give us about 50% more power per natural gas generator. So each of these takes 90 grams a second. Our two geysers are 125 and 120. A little under 250, with these using 90 a second. Now, assuming we're running these generators full time, we could only use about 3. However, there's going to end up being a lot of overflow, which is I'm actually fine with. I'd rather have spare than not. We're probably gonna use multiple, more than we really need, but I'd rather have it that way. I do want this layer to be the floor here. I know we did dig out this whole space. This part here gives us a lot more length to work with. I'll need a second actually to decide how I want this. I definitely think this is a good start. Now I do like the idea of leaving a 2 or 3 tall gap. We'll do 3. And this is where we're actually going to have the generators sit on. That way the water can go through and then we can do whatever we want down here with the water. Now, because this is an invalid building location, they want to actually build it here, so we can just move it down later when it comes time. We will do that, though, with the power control station, too. Now, the part that I'm actually worried about is I don't know if it's going to be outputting the water hot enough for it to turn into steam. I think that's all I've got for now. We've got a lot of footage, and I don't want to let this go on for too long, because then the video will end up being too long. Mostly it was just a setting up and a small things episode, I guess. Come next time, though, we will definitely get this system at least planned out, and we can go from there. The issue being we're kind of just waiting on a lot of things for timing. Like, we're waiting on this to go dormant. With that, though, I will see you guys next time.